Good morning, my friends. Welcome to Woodlands North. I apologize, I've been away from the channel for a little while. No excuse really. A few little things contributed, I guess. One was I had a wonderful opening season for trout. I just made it a point to get out there a little bit more this year and go to a couple places that I normally don't get the chance to go to, and did quite well. So now that that's sort of wrapped up, the kids have started their travel sports, and they're both playing travel this year, so it kind of keeps me on my toes quite a bit, and fortunately out of the forest for the most part, but that's just temporary, and no complaints. Anyway, reason I'm out in the backyard today, I have been tagged by Paul at the Hunt Shack for my 3 favorite full tang knives. So many knives to choose from, really. To kind of narrow the list down to 3 was tough for me, but I just sort of went through and picked the 3 knives that I've used the most. Number 1, you must remember my Condor bush lore. And of course, this isn't the kind of Condor you buy in the store. I bought this blade blank a few years ago, and it kind of sat there in my basement for a while till I figured out what to do with it. And I actually made a video on how I put this all together. I just took some pieces of pine, shaped them, put some Chicago screws, and for the cost of what I think was $22 for the blade and a couple of hours for work, I had this great little bushcraft knife. I actually really do like this knife. It's thick enough that you can still do some medium tasks with it, some light batoning and so forth, but it's also thin enough and holds quite a nice edge that you can do some finer detail work. Do like it very much. I think it's 3/8 inch thick, which is I think 3 millimeters. So thick enough to do most tasks. And I also created this, my first attempt at a Kydex sheath. Probably not the world's most glamorous sheath, but you know what? It actually works well, holds pretty good, and really no complaints. Now, of the 3 knives, this is the one that I probably use the least. And the reason for it is, I find that when I'm batoning, and I know a lot of people don't do this, so this may not be an issue for you, but it tends to dull the blade quickly. Now around here, a lot of the wood that I baton is quite hard, and I do find myself sharpening it quite regularly. And you know what, to be honest, it actually sharpens quite well, so that's not really too big of an issue. And the other thing that, again, may not be a big deal to you, but it doesn't throw sparks very well. So I don't know, perhaps I can maybe grind out the spine a little more, but it does seem sharp enough that I can do it. But I remember that when I did try it a few times, it didn't throw the sparks well at all. Okay, my second knife is the EKA Nordic W12. And of the 3 knives I'm going to show you today, this is the one that I've definitely used the most. Now you can see this is quite thick as well. I think this is 4 millimeter thick. Just seems so much thicker than the Condor. It's definitely got a lot more heft to it. And this one is a stainless steel. Handles are G10 and really nice. From the second I picked up this knife, I just loved how it felt in my hand. It feels really comfortable, and I can do a lot of work with it and still not have any strain on my wrists. Steel is excellent. I believe it's Swedish Sandvik steel. It says so right there. And I've been able to get this thing razor sharp. Now this steel is a little bit harder than the Condor to sharpen, but when you do get an edge on here, let me tell you, it is quite sharp, and this thing has been quite a workhorse for me. I've batoned through everything, done all sorts of work. It's never let me down. And also for fine work, it also does quite well at that as well. And the sheath, excellent. Kydex sheath, and it has fire steel, just a thin little one, but still quite nice to have on your person. And it's also got a sharpener, which I don't really use. I sharpen it by other means, but if it ever did go dull, and it has happened once where, you know, it was a little bit dull and I just gave it a few passes on here and it brought it back to where I needed it. It's quite handy to have, and it does throw decent sparks. Got a belt loop here. The only minor complaint I guess I would have about this would be that it's never fallen out. It's never even been that close to falling out for me, but it does, after I've used it for a day or so, I kind of find it a little bit like that. So it is possible, and maybe you just want to put some kind of retention system on here to keep it. But all in all, I love this knife. Now my last knife, I really had to think about this one, because there's a few other knives that I have used quite a bit, and though I have probably the least amount of experience with this knife, it is actually quickly becoming my favorite. This is the Condor Hudson's Bay. Now that's a knife, isn't it? Well, this thing is an absolute beast. And price-wise, I think I paid, I want to say about $55 or $60 for this some time ago. I don't know what they are now. And honestly, the only reason I bought it was the price. I just wanted something that I could beat up on. You know, I didn't think it would really hold up that long, but let me tell you, since I've started bringing this, I stopped bringing my hatchet. So I used to always bring the EKA Nordic or the Bush Lore, and then a hatchet on top of it to do some heavy duty work. With this, I don't need a hatchet. I have absolutely sliced and diced through some gnarly, super hard, twisted wood, and this thing excels and is quickly becoming my favorite knife. Not for everyone. I mean, this thing weighs like 1.2 pounds. You know, although this is pretty hefty as well, you could see that to carry this in, there's a lot more space required, and that might deter some people. But I am super glad that I did purchase this knife. And again, it's not number one yet, but it's quickly becoming there. So it's got some nice little wooden handles here, real basic grip here. It's a little bit smooth, and that might be the only slight mock I have on this knife, is that it's a little too smooth when it gets wet, but that's pretty easily remedied with some grip tape, or I can just even sand this up a little bit. So I'm not too worried about it, but I do love the knife. Carbon steel, and this also I was able to get quite sharp, and you know what, I don't know why, but I don't seem to need to sharpen this one that often. And I guess because I don't really use it for fine tasks, I use it for mostly batoning, chopping, things like that. And you can see there's a couple of real minor nicks. I'm not sure if the camera's going to bring it out, but this is quickly becoming my favorite. When you consider the weight of a hatchet and a small knife, I can just bring this. I've saved space, I've saved room, and I still have some excellent functionality there. Okay, so Paul at the Hunt Shack ended up showing us 3.5 of his favorite knives. Well, I don't like being outdone, so I'm going to show you my favorite 3 3/4 knives. And the 3/4 knife is none other than the CRKT Spew. This is an awesome little knife. It's got G10 handles, and it's got a really nice grip. Hopefully you can see that. I have done a review on this knife if you want to look that up. And it comes in around 6 inches long. We've got a 3-inch blade, and it's quite a unique design. Comes with the sheath here, and of course the neck lanyard, so you wear it as a neck knife. You've got it around your neck all day. You hardly even notice it's there, and then whenever you need it, it's accessible. I actually like to complement the Hudson's Bay with the Spew, because obviously if you ever have to do some carving or finer tasks, this is not going to excel at that type of work, and this does. So many thanks to Paul from the Hunt Shack Wilderness Experience. If you haven't checked out his channel, he's got some good stuff, so have a look over there. And I'd also like to carry the tag forward to Pine Tree Line Outdoors. and Backcountry King Outdoors. If you guys will accept, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Been watching your channels and enjoy what I see on there as well. So thanks again to my viewers for watching. Hope you like the channel. If you're not a subscriber, why don't you consider subscribing? And until the next video, take care.